What's going on YouTube, and in this video I want to talk about the Analogue Pocket in the year 2024 leading into 2025. Should you get an Analogue Pocket? Why should you get an Analogue Pocket? Is it still worth the money? A lot of people say that it's too expensive, it's overpriced. I'm going to talk about all that in this video today. Now there's tons of videos on should you get a Pocket, is it worth it, all that stuff, and I just want to do another video just to remind people throughout the years, maybe you're looking for a newer video on why this is a great console and why you should buy it. And I'm going to start off strong right away. But first I want to talk about the Analogue Pocket because this here is the limited edition red one. As you know, they've been coming out with several different limited editions. The first one was the transparent color one. That was the first limited edition. The original is the black and white. The first wave to come out was the transparent ones. Then we got the solid play it loud. And then just recently we got the Game Boy Color variants. Well, are there going to be any more? I'm kind of thinking they might do the Game Boy Advance Atomic Blue, Arctic Blue, I think, and the hot pink, the transparent pink. They also came out with a metal one, which was absolutely overpriced. It was over $500, which is ridiculous. I heard those were heavy and they run hot because of the heat transfers over to the shell, which I can't verify for myself, but I didn't really like that one. However, I do like the colored ones. I wanted the lime green one, but I didn't want to go crazy buying pockets that I don't need. So I just held off for now. There were other things I wanted to buy. But the number one main reason you're going to want to buy an Analogue Pocket, the absolute reason you buy this instead of a, let's say, a Anbernic or another emulation device, is the physical cartridges. That is the number one main absolute reason why you buy an Analogue Pocket. The Analogue Pocket can do everything that other consoles do except, you know, some higher consoles, but the reason you buy this is because you want to play physical games on your console. So I have a large collection of games here. One thing that I like about it is that I have here the Japanese version of Pokemon Crystal. Why do I have this version? Because the American version costs over $150 up to $200. I got this game when it came out for my birthday, and somewhere along the lines I lost all my Game Boy games. To buy them back now is ridiculously expensive, and I'm not going to spend $100 and something for a game that I'm not going to play often. So I got the Japanese version. What I like about the Analogue Pocket is I can play the English ROM and FPGA, and then I can download my save off the cartridge, off the console, the English save, and I can upload it to the cartridge with something like a Joey Jr. or the Retrode. So I don't need to play the game off of this, but I can keep my English save file and then upload that save file if I really wanted to the Japanese cartridge. I could also trade and play online with the Analogue Pocket. Granted, you have the cable. Now, growing up, I did have a lot of Game Boy games and Game Gear games. These are not the ones that I got as a kid, but these are the ones that I just recently collected over the last couple of years. And here's some of the Game Gear games. And I have a whole cart full of Game Gear. Now, Game Gear is very affordable. It's a great system to collect for because it doesn't cost a lot of money. Some of the games that do cost a lot of money, though, are the Neo Geo Pocket games. Metal Slug was a little bit expensive. And some of the other ones are a little bit cheaper. They're not too expensive, but the big titles like Metal Slug are going to cost some money. And here's an Atari Lynx game that I bought brand new in box. Lynx is another console that's very cheap to collect for. You can actually buy a lot of games. I bought this brand new in box. You can buy a lot of brand new in-box games for about $40. They didn't sell very well. And also I've started collecting, I've been going to Japan and buying a lot of PC Engine Hue cards, TurboGrafx 16 in the US. So here's just some that I picked up in Tokyo for the past couple of months. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people say that they don't have nostalgia for a lot of these consoles. And I just want to tell people that when I was growing up as a kid, I did not have PC Engine games. I did not have Atari Lynx games, and I did not have the Neo Geo Pocket games. I did have the Game Boy Advance games, and I did have Game Gear and Game Boy Color and Game Boy Pocket. But a lot of people say that they don't want something because they have no nostalgia for it, and I just think that's not a good thing to say because I am currently in my 30s creating nostalgia for the future by collecting for the Analogue Pocket games that I've never played before, or games for consoles that I never owned. I'm creating new memories. I'm creating future nostalgia. We tend to get stuck in our old ways of back when we were a kid, but there's no reason why in my 50s I can't have memories from when I was in my 30s. Everything doesn't have to be from the 90s. Everything doesn't have to be from the 2000s. Everything doesn't have to be from my childhood. You can create memories in your adulthood for the future. So when I'm 50 years old and I'm 60 years old, I'll have memories of when I was in my 30s collecting for the Analogue Pocket. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. So don't be afraid to buy something new and start to create new memories for the future. You can definitely go ahead and do that. Now these things are really cool. They play all kinds of cartridges, obviously. What I like to do is I like to buy the Japanese versions because a lot of these games are cheaper in Japanese and they're literally exactly the same game. Games like Super Mario, you don't need to have any knowledge of reading or writing Japanese to play Super Mario. So that's just Game Boy Advance. Let's go ahead and look at per se, let's do a Game Boy game. This is a Japanese version of Donkey Kong. Another game you don't need to know Japanese to play, it's Donkey Kong. Sometimes you need to clean out your cartridges, obviously. Don't blow into the cartridges. I'm doing that because I'm doing a video and I don't have time. There you go. Maybe you have nostalgia for blowing on the cartridges and you want to do that too. So here's Donkey Kong, and I have a save file there. And here is the Game Gear, Sega Game Gear. That one loaded up right away. A lot of fun with Game Gear. It gives you game details. You know what? We'll do all the adapters just to show you guys, in case you haven't seen them in a video, because I know a lot of videos people don't have all the cartridges. Let's go ahead and do columns for the PC Engine or the TurboGrafx 16. Pop that right in there. Here's columns. Now again, with these, they have the screen filters. You can change them. When I'm in handheld, I like to not use the filters because it looks better, but when I'm in the TV, I like to use some of the filters in the TV. It looks better on the big screen. And we're going to talk about the Analogue Pocket dock as well. So that's the TurboGrafx 16. Let's go ahead and do, let's see, what do we have here? This one is the Lynx. There's not too many good games on the Lynx, but there's a couple that are worth playing. Here is Shadow of the Beast. Again, this is a system that I've never owned any games for. Alright. And last but not least, we can do the Neo Geo Pocket. Now, in 2024, this is the month of September, they do not have a open release core for this yet, so you still have to use the cartridges. They do have beta cores that don't work very well. And here is the Neo Geo. Very fun stuff. So that's the number one reason you want to buy an Analogue Pocket. Now, number one, you want to play physical games. on your console. And by the way, the screen on this on the Analogue Pocket is the best screen I've ever seen on a handheld device ever. I don't know the technology, but it is crystal clear. It is absolutely stunning, beautiful. I've never seen the screen on a game device as beautiful as this. Even the Anbernic screens, which I'm not sure what technology they use, but it is nothing compared to the screen on the Analogue Pocket. Now let's talk about OpenFPGA, because you don't have to use cartridges on your Analogue Pocket. If you don't have the cartridges, you can play games with the OpenFPGA on the SD card. I'm not going to get into that too much. Okay, you can go online and watch how to do that. It's very, very simple, but you have all these consoles that you can play. You can play arcade games, you can play Capcom CPS2, Neo Geo, the bigger arcade games. You can even play handheld, like let's say I want to play Game Boy, but I don't have all the cartridges. You can play it on here, and what I like about playing on the FPGA is that you have the BIOS for the games. So let's do Super Mario Land. I freaking love that. So that's one of my favorite things about the OpenFPGA is when you play the console games, you have the that opening that you don't get when you plug a cartridge in there. It's super nostalgia. It also works for Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. Let's do a Game Boy Advance now. Let's just do Alien Wars. Again, you get that little intro. One thing I don't like about downloading ROMs, I'd rather just play the actual cartridges. A lot of the ROM dumps are modified by hackers and they put their little intro in the games, and I don't like that. Same thing goes for the Game Boy Advance, and you can even play Nintendo, Sega Genesis, all that other stuff. They also have the Game & Watch. You can play Tiger handheld games. Let's take a look at Donkey Kong on the Game & Watch. So that's pretty cool. In case you wanted to play Game & Watch, it is there. So there's so much stuff that you could do with this console. And like I said, you could even play, let's go to Arcade Multi. You can play Capcom CPS2 games. So if for any reason you wanted to play, let's say, you know, let's do X-Men versus Street Fighter, you can load it up. The only thing about using the CPS2 is that it does take a little bit of time to load. Now, one thing I want to talk about also is you should definitely have the Analogue Pocket dock, because I think this is a must-have accessory for the console. It really makes it worth playing the arcade games like CPS2, because if you want to play Marvel vs. Capcom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men Children of the Atom, or any of those other arcade games, you really want to use an arcade stick, and you can use the arcade stick with the dock. You can also plug in a 8BitDo USB controller. It even works with, now shockingly enough, you can use the Nintendo controls for the Nintendo Online. But here is X-Men vs. Street Fighter running on the Analogue Pocket. Could you look at that? Look at that. And it works flawlessly too, but like I said, you really want to use the arcade stick. So you're going to want to have the dock. So there you have it. I mean, this thing is amazing. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the dock and show you how it looks on the big screen. So this is what you're going to see when you have it hooked up to the dock. And again, I think it just honestly looks way better on the big screen. For some consoles, you're going to want to have it on the big screen. This is the TurboGrafx 16, and like I said, when I'm on the big screen, I like to put some of the filters on because I think it looks better. So you can hook up an arcade stick, you can hook up a wireless 8BitDo controller, you can use a variety of other controllers, but you have to update it because earlier on in the first firmware, once you take it out of the box, They might not all work, but they do work flawlessly once you update it. But anyway, I highly recommend getting an Analogue Pocket. If you're on the fence about ordering one of these, I think they still have the black and white versions available now. That is a console that does get restocked by Analogue quite often. Most of their other consoles, they get scalped right away. These got scalped early on, but they've been consistent with keeping the supply. So I do appreciate that. Definitely check this thing out. If you're going to buy the Analogue Pocket, you're going to want to get it for your physical games. If you don't have physical games, it's really fun to start collecting for the consoles that you don't have. You do have to buy the adapter set separately. It doesn't come with the adapters, but you can order them online. I highly recommend doing that. You can also use a flash cart like a EverDrive. The EverDrive does work on this. I use the Game Boy EverDrive. If you don't have the Neo Geo games, you can get the Neo Geo EverDrive. They have EverDrives for almost every console, even the Game Gear. So I highly recommend doing that. And you don't have to, but you should highly consider getting the dock. It completes the package. So I hope you liked this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out more content on my channel. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching and peace out, guys.